Christmas Eve, December 24th. The living room of her parents' house smelled of pine and cinnamon, exactly the way it had in childhood. The tree glittered with warm golden light, shadows from the ornaments dancing across the ceiling. Everything looked perfect, like the cover of a holiday greeting card. But Emma felt nothing except a tightening in her chest. She sat on the sofa, hands folded in her lap, watching her mother arrange napkins printed with reindeer across the table. Dad dozed in the armchair with a newspaper. Her cousin Jade scrolled through something on her phone in the corner, quiet, unobtrusive as always. Her sister Lauren had gone out for candy. Of course, Lauren. She always knew how to disappear at exactly the right moment and reappear at an even more convenient one. Maybe this time it'll be fine, Emma thought. Maybe just a quiet Christmas. But that was precisely when her mother looked up at her with that expression. That particular one, slightly mocking, slightly dismissive. The expression Emma had known since she was 4 years old. "You do realize your sister has been helping us financially for half a year now, right?" her mother said, as if mentioning the weather. "Never complains. Just does it." Emma went still. For several seconds, she simply stared at her mother, trying to make sure she'd heard correctly. Then something inside her, something that had been silent for years, clenched sharply and painfully. "Mom," she said, and her voice came out quieter than she intended. "That's me. I've been sending you money. Every month. Since July." Silence. Her mother's eyes went wide. Her father, who apparently hadn't been asleep at all, lifted his head from the newspaper. "What are you talking about?" Her mother's voice turned sharp, like a slap. "You're trying to steal credit from your own sister?" On Christmas Eve, the room seemed to shrink. The air grew thicker. Emma's cheeks burned, not with shame, but with rage. That deep, years-old rage that lives somewhere beneath the ribs and rarely surfaces, because there is nowhere for it to go. "I'm not making this up," she said. "Listen to yourself," her mother said, shaking her head. "You always find a reason to make Lauren look bad. Always." Her favorite word. Jade quietly put down her phone in the corner. That was when Jade raised her head. "Hold on," she said, and there was that rare sharpness in her voice that Emma remembered from their school days. Jade rarely got involved, but when she did, she went straight to the point. "Have you actually ever seen any proof that Lauren was sending the money? Bank statements? Screenshots? Anything at all?" Their parents exchanged a glance. Dad waved his hand, the same gesture he always used when a question displeased him. "Lauren wouldn't lie about something like this," he said. "She's the responsible one." Responsible? The word landed on Emma like a stone dropped in still water. For 6 months, she had quietly trimmed her own budget, said no to dinners with friends, passed on the new coat she'd been eyeing, canceled the trip she'd been planning for 2 years. Every month, she opened the app and made the transfer, silently, without fanfare, because her mother had said it long ago. Don't make a scene out of it. And now, responsible. She opened her mouth to respond, but at that exact moment the lock clicked and Lauren swept into the room, rosy-cheeked from the cold, a bag of candy swinging from her hand, her brightest smile already in place. "What's going on?" she asked, looking from Emma's flushed face to their parents' furrowed brows. Their mother pointed at Emma. "She's claiming she's the one who's been sending us money." A 1-second pause. So brief that their parents likely missed it entirely. But Emma caught it. She saw Lauren's pupils flare wide for just a moment, and immediately narrow again. Saw the smile tremble almost imperceptibly before spreading even wider. "Oh, Mom," Lauren said with a warm laugh, setting the candy on the counter. "I think Emma just got confused about something. Obviously, she wanted to help. I don't want to make this into a whole thing." She turned to Emma with an expression of such syrupy concern that it burned in Emma's throat. "You know I've been handling this for months. I just didn't want to burden you with it." "Burden you?" Jade quietly raised one eyebrow but said nothing. "All right," Jade said suddenly, and a barely perceptible edge crept into her voice, the kind Emma had always loved in her. "Then show proof. If you've been sending money, you should have statements." Lauren blinked in surprise. Then, reluctantly, as if she found the whole thing tiresome. She pulled out her phone. "Fine," she said, scrolling through the screen.
Here.
"Transfer receipts. Every month, like clockwork." She set the phone on the table, screen facing up toward their parents. They leaned over it. Their mother nodded, slowly, with satisfaction, as if everything had clicked neatly into place. But Emma stepped closer. Something in her, some instinct that lives deeper than logic, said, "Look carefully." She picked up the phone without asking permission. Lauren lunged slightly, but didn't make it in time. The receipts looked convincing.
Dates. Amounts.
Even transaction ID numbers. But the account number. Emma felt her fingers go cold. The account number on the receipts didn't match the one she knew by heart, her parents' account, the one she had been sending money to for 6 months straight. The difference was only 3 digits at the end. But it was there. "This is a fake," Emma said. Quietly, with certainty. The room went silent, as if someone had cut the power. "What?" Her mother looked up. "These receipts are fabricated," Emma repeated, feeling her voice grow steadier. "The account number is wrong. Right here and here. 3 digits off." Lauren reacted like lightning. "Oh my God, Emma," she said with an exasperated little laugh. "Are you a bank document specialist now? The numbering could have changed after a system update. Not everyone is as knowledgeable about these things as you seem to think you are." Dad stood up. His full height, with that expression Emma had feared as a child. "That is enough," he said. "You're embarrassing yourself. If you can't prove it, you owe your sister an apology." And that was when Emma reached for her own phone. The banking app wouldn't open. She tapped the icon again and again. The screen would start to load, then freeze. Load, then throw an error. "We are currently experiencing technical difficulties. All services are temporarily unavailable. We appreciate your patience." Patience. How convenient, Lauren said, and there was something that almost sounded like pleasure in her voice. The one time you need to prove something, and your phone just happens to not work. Very believable, Emma. Their parents stared at her. Jade did too, but differently. Not with judgment. With something more complicated. Dad pointed toward the front door. "You have 5 minutes," he said. "Either you apologize or you leave. I will not let you ruin Christmas with your jealousy." Emma couldn't describe exactly what she felt in that moment, even later. It wasn't only anger, and it wasn't only hurt. It was something older, something that had lived in her for years, building up every time her parents defaulted to Lauren, every time her words were swallowed by silence, every time she drove home wondering, maybe I really did misunderstand something. She picked up her coat and walked out. The Christmas lights along the street blurred through her tears. She got into her car, the engine running low and steady, and just sat there, no thoughts, no plan, phone in hand, the same technical difficulties message glowing on the screen. At 1 a.m, she was sitting in a 24-hour coffee shop with 3 empty cups in front of her. Her phone lay on the table. The app still wouldn't open. The bank's customer service line wasn't answering. An automated voice repeated the same message as the screen. "Christmas. Technical difficulties. We appreciate your patience." She stared out the window at the empty street and thought, what if I actually can't prove any of this? That was when her phone buzzed. A message from Jade.
"Hey.
You okay? I've been thinking about things. My door is open if you need a place to crash. I don't know what to believe right now, but you've always been straight with me. Let me know." Emma read it 3 times. "I don't know what to believe. That wasn't I'm on your side. But it wasn't I'm against you either." In that neutral phrase, there was something Emma grabbed onto like a rope above a drop. She typed, "On my way." Jade opened the door before Emma even knocked. She must have been watching from the window. She handed her a mug of tea and said nothing at first, just sat down beside her on the couch and waited. They sat like that for about 20 minutes. Then Emma told her everything, from the 1st July transfer to the frozen app screen. Jade listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't argue. "I believe you," she said at last. "But you understand they won't take your word for it. You need something they can't dismiss with a button." Morning arrived with snow and the same message on the banking app screen. Emma sat at Jade's kitchen table, holding her mug in both hands, staring out the window. She was thinking about transaction numbers, about paper trails, about the fact that every transfer leaves a mark in more than one place. And then, like a camera flash, email. Every time she sent money, the bank automatically fired off a confirmation to her inbox. Not through the app, through email, which ran completely independently of the bank's own systems. She unlocked her phone with trembling fingers and opened her mail. There they were in neat rows from July through December, 6 messages, each with a subject line, transfer confirmation, each with a date, an amount, and the recipient's account number. Her parents' account, the correct number, every single month. "Jade," she said quietly, "I found it." She came back the next day, Christmas morning, and played the role of someone who had arrived to make peace. Soft smile, gentle voice. "I don't want to ruin the holiday." Lauren barely hid her satisfaction. Their parents let her in without much comment. At the dinner table, while dishes were passed and quiet conversations hummed, Emma watched her sister. Lauren was already warming up for her performance. She could see it in the way she kept glancing around at the relatives, sizing up her audience. Sure enough, barely 10 minutes had passed before Lauren cleared her throat and said, "I think we all need to address what happened yesterday." Voice trembling, eyes glistening. She spoke of pain, of betrayal, of how devastating it had been that her own sister would try to erase months of her selfless care. The relatives nodded. Someone clicked their tongue sympathetically. Emma gripped her phone under the table.
Now.
She stood up. "That's enough," Emma said, calmly. That single phrase cut through the room more cleanly than any shout could have. "I have proof. Not screenshots that can be edited. Emails directly from my bank. Automatic confirmations for every transfer from July through December, with dates, amounts, and the account number they were sent to." She set her phone on the table, screen facing up. The emails were open. Lauren didn't react immediately, which was itself an answer. "Then, anyone can fake an email. Then we'll check the ATM," Emma said, and turned to her parents. "The ATM shows the account number the money came from on every transaction.
You don't need an app or the internet.
Just your card and a few buttons." Silence. Her mother looked at her father. Her father looked at Lauren. Lauren looked away. The three of them went out, Emma and her parents, into the cold Christmas air. They drove to the nearest ATM without a word. Dad inserted his card and pulled up the account history.
July.
August. September. October. November. December. 6 transfers. 6 times the same account number. Emma's account. Her mother pressed a hand over her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. When they came back, Lauren was already standing in the hallway with her code in her hands. She had understood before they even opened their mouths.
"Fine," she said.
Her voice flat. No tears now. The tears were gone.
"Yes. Elite."
She looked at Emma, and in that gaze was so much at once: anger, shame, and something that resembled an old, buried regret. "You told me yourself in July that you didn't want a big deal made of it, that you just wanted to help quietly. I thought, what changes if they think it was me? They still got the money either way." "What changes?" Emma felt her chin begin to tremble. "You stood there and watched them throw me out of the house on Christmas Eve. You watched Dad point at the door. And you said nothing." Lauren said nothing. "I trusted you," Emma said, quieter now. "That's what changed. I trusted you." Lauren grabbed her keys and walked out, the door slamming behind her. Late that evening, when the relatives had all gone home and only the three of them were left in the living room, Emma's mother came to her and took her hand. "We owe you an apology," she said, and for the first time in a long time, the usual distance in her voice was simply gone. "Not just for last night. For years." Dad stood beside her, heavy and quiet, but he nodded. Emma looked at them, at the tree still twinkling softly, at the empty chair where relatives had sat an hour ago, at the bag of candy Lauren had brought and left behind on the counter. "I accept the apology," she said. "But not tonight. Tonight, I need time." She picked up her coat, said goodbye, calmly, without drama, and stepped out into the Christmas night. Snow was falling evenly and quietly. The lights along the street no longer blurred. For the first time in a long time, Emma didn't feel that familiar crushing weight in her chest. She hadn't forgiven yet. She didn't know yet whether she would. But the truth was finally where it belonged, on the surface. Visible, undeniable. And for tonight, that was enough.
The end.